Hello again, Monsterforge here, and this is part 6 of sculpting a critter. Last time we finished up the face on this guy, and he's so handsome. Look at his face, he's so handsome. He's a handsome boy. He's a handsome boy. Anyway, I just figured he needed some arms. We made those armholes way back when. And it's time to put some arms on the little fella. I'm really happy with how his face turned out. He has such a funny looking little grin. I wanted to give him some cute little arms. Because he's, honest to God, he's really not cute. He's pretty hideous, but he's so ugly he's cute, I think. Anyway, I want to give him some arms. And in keeping with this style of figure that I'm doing here, the little kind of super deformed figure, you can go one of two ways with a character like this. You can give him massive arms. You know, you could take a chunk of clay this size and kind of taper it on one end. And you could give him huge arms that kind of sit at his side like this. You know, maybe sculpt his fingers like his knuckles are on the ground. Something like that. And that's fine. That's a perfectly viable solution for the problem of the arms. But like I said, when we were in an earlier video, kind of want him to be a little chunky guy holding his tummy, like a lot of the little super deformed type figures are. I keep talking about super deformed figures, and I don't have any of them right nearby to kind of show. So next time I do a video, I'll have to make sure I grab one of those little figures. But anyway, I want him to have little tiny arms. And let's see, just testing the size here for this. Just kind of testing it out. That's pretty much the way I want it to be. But anyway, we'll need two at about the same size. A little ball about this size. Pick off another ball. Kind of get it the same size. Let's see what we got. Pluck a little bit off this one to put on this one. Just kind of even it up like we do. That's pretty close to the same size. So what we'll do is we'll kind of roll it out and keep one end sort of tapered. That's going to be the insertion into the shoulder. And you just kind of set it in place, press it kind of firmly, but not super firmly, and then kind of mold it around towards the belly. Now, you have a couple of options here. You can have the hands start right here and just sculpt them from this nub here at the end. Or you could take another piece of clay after you're done and put the fingers out here. You know, maybe give him a thumb. You know, just kind of roughly giving you the idea. But I want him to be kind of stubby. You could make them like the toenails on this guy if you were following this pattern. I choose for his fingers to be a little bit different. But first of all, what I wanted to do, remember we were keeping the motif with this guy to be kind of all these little folds that make him up. So I was going to take this edge, which is a little bit softer. And first of all, I want to fold there where his, you know, his upper arm, kind of, the skin of his upper arm kind of folds over his forearm. And, you know, just give him a couple of little rolls. We want him to be roly-poly. And keep that going through the forearm. And just kind of have it stop right where your hand's going to start. Right there. And, you know, I could leave him like that and he'd be plenty cute with his little stubbed off arms. But that's not the way I want to go with this. I want to find the tool that has the one edge is longer than the other of this little kind of raking tool, And I want to just kind of rake out a part. So he has sort of like a little hoof looking appendage. It's not going to stay that way. That's just my starter. And I kind of want to push these little bits around till I get kind of like the structures for fingers, like the bone structure that's underneath the fingers. And just keep working that clay down and, you know, kind of scrape it off there so that you have a little bit of separation. You can you can tell what parts are connected to the body and what aren't. Just keep that line of that fold going through. Kind of clean it up a little bit. But yeah. Now, I can try right now and see how this is going to look. Yeah, I kind of like it is with just the two little claws there, sort of like a little hoof. But I might want to try out putting a little thumb right there. And the best way to do that is kind of blend it into the rest of the arm and just kind of push it out. And, you know, if your Sculpey's good and soft, like I needed it right before I started the video. I was getting it ready. It's a little bit colder. I'm filming this right now in November, in case people are watching this down the road. And it's a little bit chilly. I don't have the heat very high because I don't like it very hot, but it's chillier in here than most people would be comfortable with. And so it's really easy when it's kneaded. The clay is warmed by the touch and by friction from being kneaded and rolled out. It'll just, you know, you can just scoop the stuff on and just kind of shape it with your tools. Now, where's my... Oh, I put it over here. My tool has the tiny little ball on the end of it. I use that to kind of push in here to give a little gap between the thumb and the fingers. And just kind of use it here too to kind of push these fingers apart a little bit, kind of suggesting the webbing that you get between your fingers. So yeah, I kind of like how that looks now. He has 3 little fingers there, and it kind of goes into his wrist. And you know, you can work on sculpting that the little folds there on his arm with that. Might want to go back in and make this last fold almost like a little sleeve of a shirt. I mean, it's going to be his skin, but it kind of does look like he's wearing a little shirt there. And you know, that's part of his personality, I guess. And you would just repeat the same thing on the other side. And what I tend to do is I don't keep them like the pose asymmetric, or I don't keep the pose symmetrical. So, you know, I could have his little hand right there, but I might want to put his little hand on his hip to make him a little bit different from one side to the other. Like maybe he's scratching his foot or something. You know, just a little bit of personality that you can put into the sculpt. Anything you can do to add some life to the sculpt is really going to make it pop. And it'll make it where, you know, people that look at it will see a little bit more life going on. Once again, I'm going to keep that big fold from the upper arm to the lower arm. Kind of push this down a little bit. It's a little bit higher than I wanted it to be. And once again, just sculpt some of the little folds of his little pudgy arms. Forearms as well. Now, you might notice this one's a lot thicker over here. And it might have been because I got a little bit too much clay on this side. Just peel out what you don't need. It's just that simple. You just dig back out what you don't need. And then you can kind of shape the arm a little bit with your tools. Like so. Yeah, just kind of shape that up a little bit. And I'm going to roll out this part a little bit to start where his hand's going to be. And like before with the tool that I use that has the long scoop end, I'm just going to scoop out the fingers. You can see automatically that just creates your fingers for you. But, you know, and you could leave them like that. If you wanted to leave them really simplified like that, you can. There's nothing wrong with that. It's all according to the aesthetic that you're going for. These little guys, they're kind of fanciful little critters, and they aren't, you know, they're not necessarily the kind of creatures you would see in special effects in a movie. They're more cartoony. And so, you know, but at the same time, I try to give them a little bit of detail in the sculpts that kind of gives them a little bit of life. So now I'm going to add little things, little details like the shape where the knuckles are on his little fingers and things like that. And, you know, that's really easy to do, like I said before, if you've got really soft, like if your Sculpey's been kneaded really well. Just little things to hint, you know, that there's a change in the structure of the build that you've made here. And give him a little gap between the fingers. And once again, I'm going to add a little thumb. That's way too big. There we go. Add a little thumb to his hand right here. Use the little ball to build that, or to push that in. Give it a little bit of shape there. Kind of shape up the bone structure underneath the skin. And yeah, he's got another little hand. Just give it a little bit more definition there. I want to push the little folds over so it looks like the thumb is coming out from the same place that the other fingers are. You don't want it to look awkward. Once again, making it look like that sort of sleeve look around where the hand comes out. And there, he's got a little bit of a personality. He's holding his little tum-tum over here and got his hand on his foot, like maybe he's scratching his toe, thinking about what he's going to bite next. Of course, you know, the little fine detail smoothing that you get with the alcohol on the brush. It's really easy to do right now. This was, you know, it's honestly some of the easiest little hands I've ever had to make. It just worked out. And, you know, just smooth out those folds. This will get rid of any fingerprints you might have left on here. It'll also help the clay blend closer with the body of the figure. And there he goes. So he's got little hands now, little arms and little hands. And he is just a goofy looking little fella. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to give him any kind of any structures on the head or not. I haven't decided. I'd been thinking about something sort of like a little ridge going down the head. Let's see how that's going to look. Main thing I was going to do in this video is just make the arms, but right now I have a little bit of extra time, and I figured I'd just test a couple of things. Might not keep it. And it's the fun thing about doing this, you know, whenever you're making these little critters and you bake them, you sculpt and bake them in stages, you can experiment with things kind of between stages to kind of figure out what you want to do. And if you don't like the way it looks, you can just peel it off of the cooked clay, you know, like we did with the teeth in the last video. Let's see. You just have to kind of be careful not to squish the clay that you've got on his arms. Honestly, if you're just getting started with this, I would suggest go ahead and firing it before doing this. But I'm kind of used to the clay being, soft when I'm working on different parts of things. So, either way, whatever you feel comfortable with. If you feel like you're going to mess up if you feel like you're going to mess up what you've just sculpted, just, just give an extra step of just cooking it between these two steps here. That's too big, so I'm going to use the smaller ball and just kind of blend this in here and see if I like having the little ridge on his head. Almost like a little mohawk. I want this to be kind of a fleshy mohawk. I don't want him to have hair or anything like that. Just doesn't really fit with this guy. To me. I mean, you might, on your guy that you're making, if he's anything like this, if you're following this as kind of a template to work off of, you might look at it and say, yeah, he needs a big bushy mohawk. That's perfectly fine. He's, at this point, you've been sculpting on him. You can do whatever you want to do. Now, I'm going to kind of pull this clay this way and kind of give the ridge a little bit of variation on it. Like if you look at a reptile that has a ridge down its spine, it'll have differences in height down the ridge. Just all according to how it develops, No two creatures in the wild are really perfectly alike, so any type of variation you can come up with. And what's happening is, as I'm pushing it, it's making the little ridge longer and just kind of pulling it up a little bit. Now, understand when you do this, you are the farther it gets away from the surface of the head, the weaker it'll be, and more fragile it'll be after it actually fires. So, listen to me. It's like I have a kiln. I don't have a kiln. I have an oven. After it cooks. But yeah, he's got a little ridge down his head. I don't know. Haven't decided if I like that or not. I might try a couple of different things, but I think for right now, I think we'll come back to that. Next video, we'll come back, and the next video will be the last of the sculpting. And what we'll do is we'll finish up the sculpting, and then I'll show you guys how to paint using several different techniques for painting as we go through it. But kind of cleaning that off of there. But yeah, I just mainly wanted to get the arms done today in this video. So he has arms sculpted. I'm going to throw him in the oven, and his whole body will be cured, and anything we want to add to the head, that'll be then, be more confident without having to worry about squishing the clay that we've already sculpted here. So that's it for today's. Thank you guys for coming and watching. I really do appreciate any feedback I'm getting, any comments. There have been a couple, and I really do appreciate the comments you've left. They can be positive comments. They can be critical. I've had a couple of people contact me, like on Messenger on Facebook, and offer little tips about this, that, or the other. And I love that. I love engaging people in these videos. And so anything, anything you wanted to ask me about or talk about or whatever, you can do it in the comments, or you can send me a private message on Instagram or on Facebook. I try to get back as quick as I can. Sometimes I miss it, but I do try to get back as quick as I can. I have links in the description now, mentioned that in the last video, to my Instagram, my Facebook, and a link to my store. And I launch on Mondays, so if, you see this guy, and hopefully I'll have him done by Monday. If not, he'll be up for the next Monday. And, I just make originals. I have some stuff that's in the works to be cast in resin, but these guys at this size I like to just offer as original sculpts, because I always find it's nice to have an original piece. You know, it's really nice to have an original piece. And the thing is, you know, I think everybody will eventually get a chance to get an original because I just keep making these things. But anyway, that's that. I've had fun sculpting with you. Hope you guys are sculpting at home. Hope you're enjoying. Hoping maybe you can learn something from these, or maybe you can teach me. I'm always learning. But anyway, as always, a joy. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Monsterforge out.